and like that. So we have been going through our homes and wherever we could think of, and we came up with the things. What did you do outside? What did you do inside? So we are presenting some of the things that we came up with, and then if you have stories, please share your stories too. So I will turn it over. Robin Smith is going to be first, then it'll be Mary Beth Lowe, and then I will finish up.
Can I put it in the hat? That works. Can I take this over? Okay, I'm going to talk about, because I like these, I'm going to do about sleigh bells and sleighing in the winter. Maybe not so much in Nebraska today, but sleighing was a real pastime for the part of the country where there's a lot of snow. But it's actually much easier to move across the country when it snowed in a sleigh or a sled or whatever to move stuff than it would be with a wagon when they didn't have good roads. And so, anyway, I collect bells. I'm kind of a dingling when it comes to this, but I got a bunch of them I'll bore you with. These came out of Canada, a friend of mine. These are graduated bells. They were painted green for Christmas, apparently. They come in different sizes. You can buy them separately. You can buy them on a string like this. They're numbered. They usually go from a number 2 to a number 15. I think this is a 13 if I remember right. Can't read it. But anyway, so the other thing, why you use bells, it wasn't because people wanted to hear that pretty sound. It was in the snow, especially at night, with horses, you can't hear them. And this was a way of telling people there was somebody on the road, or another sled or whatever, sleigh on the road, is they would hear these going, and then you could tell who was your neighbor by just the sound of the bells, whose bells were. These are kind of dirty because we have them. If you have any questions, ask me. Okay, now here's a littler set. Smaller bells don't sound quite. Also, I was going to mention too, these are put on with a slot in the back, and they have a little brass keeper that holds those in place. These have been put on with screws. There's about 3 different ways to put these on. This is a short strap. I'm assuming you put those around the horse's waist. There was also sets that went around the horse's neck, especially if they had the collars. And I think this might be, I can't swear to it, but these might have been what, around the collar. I got this set. These aren't particularly old. These are referred to as acorn bells because of the shape. And you put them also, since I'm thinking of this, I'm not real prepared. When you put these on the horse in the old days, people would put these, I think, and they thought you put them on like this over the top. Actually, what you should do is when you put them on, you should spin them a lot of times and put them like this, because if your strap broke, you wouldn't lose your string of sleigh bells somewhere. So you put those on the back. You have that little saddle on the back. I don't know if anybody knows about harnessing horses, but you put this on the back of the saddle and you tie like a little ribbon, hold it in place there. This was my first, I bought these 50 years ago. I was 20 years old or so, north of Overton. These are stamped bells. These are cast. This is more of a stamped metal bell that's been, has been plated. I like the sound. I like that sound. So, and I had Lyle Henderson put the thing on it that was rotten, so he put those on.
That's cool.
And those also, this is leather with a cloth. I don't know if you can see it, this cloth, white with a red stripe.
Do you care if we pass those around?
Yeah, you can't. They're dirt. They're kind of dirty. You want, yeah, yeah. Here's a little bigger set. This is a great sounding set. Now that I really sound like. what they said. I forgot what they form where I got them.
What makes them sound different?
I think the castings on those, they're different sizes. They, not all of them always sound the best. Sometimes they get a crack in them or whatever, or the holes they don't sound quite as well. But these got they're probably a brass with a nickel plating, but they sound really nice. But yeah, if you wanna, they're a little on the dirty side.
How long did you have to work with the horse before that didn't bother you?
I don't know for sure, but I know that when you got those out, the horse knew what was going on. They immediately knew.
Yeah, they knew they were going somewhere.
Yeah, either they got excited
Here's
or
another
the
set.
other way.
This is all a set, this set's all the same size. They're almost the same. I'm getting so I can't read. These are number 3s. I think you got a couple number 2s. Yeah, there's some number 2s. See now, these are the brass ones, and they're heavy. See the difference? Higher pitch. I still like those. Keeper. Okay, I brought this set. And here's brass ones. They sell, like I said, they sell them. I brought this one. This one has the keepers, but this has a brass strap on the inside. And that is, I think, one to protect the keepers from coming loose. And also for the horse, so they didn't get this, the keepers wouldn't bother the horse or rub on stuff. When they come to do my estate auction, there's gonna be some people going, what in the devil is he doing? Here's another set. Actually, I just got these not long ago. They lost one of their bells, so they replaced it. They had a bell, so they replaced it with a bigger bell. Got these out of Wyoming. A lot of these went to the war drive in World War II.
Oh, yeah.
For Brett, lots and lots of these, I guess, were sent in for the.
I wonder, like, everybody.
These aren't that old. These go on, when you had probably not necessarily, but when you have a team of horses and you have that neck yoke, these would go on that, a lot of times would go on the neck yoke. So you would hear them. And they're shaped like bells. And then I got this set. These, I refer to these as rump bells. Well, there's a reason. And they have the, so also these are different. So a lot of people call these Swedish bells because of that shape in the back here. These are called rump bells because on the back of the horse, where the right back here, this is where you would put those. And there's a little thing here you put them, and you make sure they stay in the back, and then they're on the back of the rump of the horse. These are kind of expensive. You find them individually more than those. I tried to buy a set that I thought that came from Sweden, and I thought, oh, I'll get those for nothing, and they brought like $125 a piece. And I'm like, oh, I'd pay that for them. Anyway, well, that's kind of it. Like I said, that especially on the East Coast or in New York and New England, sleighing was a big deal in the winter. There was a huge sleigh in Boston that held like 30 or 40 people that would get up. They'd get out and go up and down the streets of Boston. I can't forget if they called it the Swan. They had a name. But anyway, and Mary Beth has a couple things to go with that.
Weren't you gonna bring a sleigh?
Yeah, but the weather, I got some stuff going on, so I can.
He's got a lot of horse-drawn
Yeah, I have horse-drawn equipment.
equipment.
I
He's gonna
have a
bring a
sleigh at the
sleigh in.
museum and hold it.
There's no
But-
snow on the ground, that's why.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any questions, that's kind of my, and I got, like I said, I got probably 2 more totes full of strings and just loose bells and other things.
What got got you interested in collecting those?
Well, I was into, when I was a little guy, and my grandmother took, and my dad was into horses, and my grandmother took the auctions, somewhere I got interested in horse-drawn vehicles, and for my birthday, my 15th birthday, I got a really nifty buggy from my grandmother, and my cousins got cars. Now, they've all been melted down 2 or 3 times, and I still have that buggy. And then I've got 2 Surreys, another buggy or 2. I have a hunting, that you went hunting with. It's called a dog, I call it a hunting brake. But it's what you would go hunting, and fancy guys, and they would take the dogs and put them inside, and the guys that they're, and you would go hunt grouse, like in England or whatever. It's kind of a nifty, unusual for this area. Wouldn't have been used around here, I don't think.
We have grouse around here.
Grouse, you know, they might do pheasants or quail, but it's what you would take, and the fancy people would get in it, and the 2 guys, you know, the seats were back to back. You sit kinda high, anyway, and you kept the dogs up, you'll see they have louvers, that's where you put the dogs. And then you got out and went hunting, and I don't know what else I got lots of stuff.
Robin, from the material or the design or anything, can you date any of these? I mean, I recognize that they're from.
Yeah, they're different. These I would say are fairly old. These are not very old. I think these are probably from, these have got to be well over 100 years old. These were probably in the 1880s or 90s. And a town in Massachusetts, can't think of the town right now, I forgot, was famous for, it's called Belltown, and it made most of these bells.
Was that something that the average Joe owned, or was that?
Yeah, these didn't cost very much to buy these. You know, everybody, especially east of here, you know, you'd use them. And I think that people like the sound, so they would buy them anyway, whether you need them or not. These, all these cast ones would be old. This one's probably, that's probably a very old set. That's probably an old set. This nickel plated one, I would say, would probably be after World War I. I can't swear to it. But, I don't know. It's like a drug addict. Literally, it's a bad deal.
Would they bring those out with them, like when they came out to settle, or?
Yeah, they probably, and you know, you bought those in Sears catalog. You know, they weren't.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
So they weren't that.
that's why I wondered, or would they be able to buy them out here?
Yeah, they'd assume you'd just order them from Sears or Ward's or, and I think some of the saddle shops would have carried them too. For you.
And what did you call these kind?
Well, I don't know if they have a name, Mary Beth's is a little longer, and sometimes they use a different, and it depends, I'm gonna bore you, but like on the East Coast, they would, some of the horses had a double yoke, there was a shorter yoke, and these mine probably went for where they had the 2 yokes, this one went for, like around here we have 1 big yoke, I'm assuming. The ones we don't have here are the shaft bells that are a little set of bells that you attach to the shafts of your sleigh.
What did you call these, what kind?
I don't know if they have I don't know if they have an actual name.
Yeah, kind of different, you don't see these.
They
very-
sound very nice.
Yeah. These are smaller, probably even,
Hers are riveted too. I have some, like I said, there's 3 you could either put a screw in there would be a rivet, or most of them have those little brass keepers. You can still buy those keepers. It's just a brass rod you got bent.
and then one more.
You've got a nice set of graduated ones. Those usually be like 7 feet long.
But I think I never sold these.
See, she's got the inner leather here as well to kind of help. Looks like to help. There have been some things around it, like we have on our belts, that went around to kept this in place. And it kept it from scratching up your, you know, if you had shafts or something, it kept
So
it from
there's a
scratching.
number on these?
Yeah, right here. number 12, and they went up to, I think, size 15. Number 11,
Okay.
number 10, there's a 9, there's a 7, what happened to 8? Maybe that's 8. Anyway, and you're missing a few.
Those are expensive though. I mean, when he talked about it's like a drug, you know, us collectors, you put that in front of us. Jason Combs, he kinda knows we love those old things that just, some people are attracted to shiny things, well, we're attracted to old things. Okay, another thing I wanted to show, and this is a kind of a new one, well, new, old, very old, but it's a bear skin, and it's heavy. Actually has a tag on it, so this I think would be worn or put over the family
Yep.
in the sleigh, but it's made of bear. So you can see, you wanna show the back and then the front?
Yes, and there should be a tag that says where they're made. They're made in Omaha, Denver, Iowa.
There is a tag on it.
You wanna do the back this way? Can they see the, hey, I have one of these, it's nice. I put it on my bed in the winter. It's really nice.
And you can tell the front of the bear by the coat. You see the longer hair that would have been on his back? That's there. And warm but heavy. Oh my gosh. And this one does have a tag. Can we set this down?
Yeah, they're quite heavy for a reason. Because this is a wool lining, and the moth will get it if you.
Yeah, so it did have a tag. I can't read it, it's so old, but very warm. We rode in a sleigh ride up in Colorado in the mountains. Holy smokes, cold. And then, yeah, that was kind of a fun thing, but I have never been so cold in my life. So this would have been something, you know, they needed on those sleigh rides to keep them warm. Not that we had bear around here so much, but
My grandparents were courting in the Hartwell area, and after he dropped grandma off one time, it was cold, and so he ducked under his blanket, and the horse knew the way home and fell asleep. Well, he woke up and he wasn't home. There was a tree across the road, and the horse had just stopped where he was, so he had to get out and move the tree
that's a warm
before.
one. He's lucky he was.
Lucky his horse was smart enough to stop.
Yes, goodness. Okay, so some other things for winter. Do you need to leave?
Yeah, I'll wait, and then I have to get going.
These are ancient, but old sleigh, skates, yeah. And there's a screw underneath, they would have adjusted, you know, for the size of your shoes, wider, or,
Did they have a special, do you have to have a certain shoe maybe to wear those?
I don't know, you know more than I.
I don't know.
I had one for me that, you know, you could adjust it, and it just went on my regular shoes. Only as a little kid, it had 2 blades.
Anybody wanna look these before I take off?
Did the horses take right to these or take a little training?
You know, I never did ever get my horse is dead, so I never got to use these with her because one of my sleighs is in a museum, and the other one I never took out because they upset. Those little, they upset real easy when you turn. And if you've ever seen Jingle Bells, that song they go, the horse was lean or whatever, and then we were upsot. We turned around. They upset real easily. So I never did take the chance.
Okay, other things that women might be doing in the winter, I'm sure. I had to bring a quilt, because I'm sure they would do lots of needlework. This one, really old, but you can tell the fabric that they used was left over from maybe dad's shirts or mom's dresses, but the black, must have been pretty much to the end of its life by the time this particular lady made the quilt. So what I need to find is black, all cotton fabric to replace those centers of the flowers.
Is that material maybe different, Mary Beth, that would have wore quicker than
Well,
the
I'm
black
just
material?
thinking it was a shirt that was probably well worn by the time she got to quilting, and that particular was so worn. But I always admire the work that goes into the women's work. So just a hot pad. Think how much time and work went into just making a hot pad. So something that was for embroidery work, you can imagine. Not only did she embroider all of this, but she would have made that edge as well.
Wow.
I know, that would take forever. Who does that today?
I embroidery.
Yeah, I do embroidery too, but not as much as, but that would have been a lot of time that they would have spent doing that.
Mary Beth, frequently, I have a collection of my grandparents and great-grandmother's stuff, but I think about the lighting they had.
Yes, the
Not only
lighting,
was it, but they're sitting there with a candle, maybe,
or a kerosene lamp, yes.
and I'm adjusting my bifocals during the colors, trying to see what I'm doing, and they had just a candle.
Well, and many times it wasn't too far after dark and they just went to bed. They were up early. Yeah.
That's true.
But kerosene lamp, just not the lighting that we have today. Yeah, I'm the same way. The lighting has to be better, and I think as my eyes are getting worse. Another thing, skis. And these are all wood skis. Now they have fiberglass, but you can imagine trying to use those.
Are those super heavy?
They're not heavy, they're pretty light, yeah, but just all skis. We didn't have much of that around here, mostly the skates, but the skis, of course. My husband's family went skiing all the time. I grew up in eastern Nebraska, we didn't go skiing, so he couldn't believe that. I'd never been skiing. Of course, the cards, penny postcards. They'd spend time writing the cards and Christmas cards. This one is a New Year's card dated 1912. But a lot of those old cards, and then they were saved. And I always tell the kids, the fourth graders, if you save these, if your family saved them, that's quite a treasure. Because sometimes there's history on the back too as well. But old cards that probably went to town with them and then was mailed when out on the train. Okay, I didn't have a whole lot else. Vicki, if you wanna continue on.
Let me put these away, Vicki, so I'm not making fire.
Okay, well, like Mary Beth, I too had the skates. And these somehow had the back that would fit into your shoe. And like that, and then it had the nuts and bolts that would do everything. I have no idea who these were. They were made in, looks like Torton. But then there's a screw in the middle of it, so I can't read it all. But it's Union Hardware. And this is a number 4 1/2 or 9 1/2. So I suppose that was the shoe size. But like those of you who have been these when we've done show and tell before, know that Mary Beth and I go to our houses and, well, let's say that we've got stuff in our houses from 2 and 3 and 4 generations. So we never know what we're gonna find, do we, Mary Beth? Okay, it's winter, it's snow. And you know, always before there was a lot more snow than what it seems like we have now. But you always wanted to go sledding. So at one time, I'm sure this was red and everything. The boards were pretty. As you can tell, this was on a farm. This board broke. So what does a farmer do? He goes and he finds the wire, the baling wire or whatever, puts it all back together. Oh, the original rope broke. Okay, you go, you find another rope, you make you another rope. You have to be careful with this one because on the back side there were boards that always went across. Well, one of them's missing, so the nails are sticking straight out, but this one, like you said, it's dirty. It's been in the barn. But my brother and I used this a lot.
What, did those have a name? Was there a factory that made, you know,
Weren't they red flyers?
red flyers, yeah, is that what they were?
I think so.
But you could steer those a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this front part, you could steer it, and we would have to because the farm that, we lived in, there was a nice hill on out in the pasture, but up by the house where Mom could watch what we were doing, there was a small hill that came down, and then there was a creek that ran through the property. Well, it usually didn't have water in it at this time of year, or if it did, just a little bit. So anyhow, we'd be coming down, and you'd have to quick turn it, otherwise you were going straight into the creek. And it was always, yes, kids, you can go sledding, but remember, stop before you go in the creek.
Did they come with a little break at all sometime later, you know?
Your foot.
We never got one, so.
and I don't think there was any way to stop him, when he ran into something or
just
just
roll off.
Yeah, you'd better be getting yourself off. Okay, you did not have a sled. You went on the scoop shovel. You'd hop on, you might sit on it, as you can tell, I forgot to clean this one up. You could sit on it, and down the hill you'd go. So, you always use the scoop shovel.
Or steel one, those are aluminum,
Well,
steel ones were,
this is what I found in the shop.
steel ones were heavy.
I'm not sure if we have any of the steel ones anymore, because, you know, the handles would get broken, and this and that and the next thing. Now, I have to tell you a story about in college. I went to the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. I lived on East Campus in Burr Hall, and we would walk down the hill, down the steps to the Kellogg Center, which was on 33rd and Holdridge, and that's where we ate. Well, there was a snowstorm one day, and we couldn't go to classes. It hardly ever happened in the 70s that you did not go to class. But that day they didn't. And so we're all going, it's perfect sledding snow. And there was this nice hill that went down to the parking lot. So the guys go down to the cafeteria we eat. They gather up all of the trays. They bring them back up. Or they went to their cars, and a lot of them, you know, farm kids, ranch kids, they all had their shovels. And so we would sit on the tray, and down the hill we'd go. Well, the cafeteria kind of figured out just before it was time to eat that they were missing their trays. And so the word came out. So we gathered them all up, and one of them ran them back down the hill. So, you know, you can do whatever you want. Another one of the board members said that they had a car hood, and they used that as their sled. Or you use a piece of cardboard. You used whatever you had if you wanted to go sledding. Like that. Okay, the next thing that you might do, here my bag of tricks over here, was,
I've gotta go, Vicki.
okay, thank you, thank you.
I gotta get going. Oh, these are heavy.
Let's see, you've been sledding, you've been ice skating and everything, it's time to go inside. And you're gonna be there for the evening, and it's sort of like, what are we gonna do? And, somebody goes over to the piano, or somebody goes to the pump organ, and they start, and you have a sing fest. Or, you have somebody play the fiddle. Come on. You can open up, you can open it up. Excuse me as I talk to my stuff. This was my great-grandfather's fiddle. He lived in the Buckeye Valley, northwest of Gibbon, and he played for a lot of dances. They would go all over. And the story is, and I don't know if it was this fiddle or another one of his fiddles, he laid it in the seat, and it was probably in a wagon. My great-grandma didn't see it, she sat on it. And so they had to have it fixed. It was this one. Because she broke it right here. Because you can see where it was fixed. So they got it fixed, and they said it never sounded quite like it did before great-grandma sat on it. I like that. And then somehow he hurt a finger. was a farmer like that, and so it wouldn't bend right. So he had to stop playing at the different dances and like that. And my aunt and my dad said that when they would be at grandpa or great-grandpa and grandma's house, they'd go, "Grandpa, can you please play us a song?" And if they talked long enough, he would finally get the fiddle out and he would play them one song. So this is my great-grandfather's. So it is well over 150 years old probably. And I don't know what happened to the bow, because there's no bow. But let's see, what else might you do? Well, did you ever go dancing? I had an uncle and aunt, they belonged to the Square Dance Club. And they were from Riverdale, so I'm sure that they were square dancing with the people from Riverdale and Amherst and Miller and maybe Kearney and who knows. But they always went to the square dance clubs and like that. Or did any of you belong to card clubs? A lot of people would belong to card clubs and they would play pinochle. So away they'd go. My parents didn't belong to a card club, but they played pinochle. And so my brother and I would have to play pinochle with him. I was never a big card fan of playing cards. And so I'd come home after I left college and everything, and they'd go, "We're playing cards tonight." And so probably if we get into one of these right boxes, there's the piece of paper that they have written out for me. How to bid, how to do everything. Let's see, what other things did they do? Any of you from the Ravenna pool area?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go roller skating?
Yeah. Yeah, that's come up from City Hall with 4-H.
Was it City Hall or was it the auditorium? Auditorium, they still do. And in the basement, right?
No,
On the main floor.
Dance floor.
Okay. I was there once, but I know that, that was a big thing. Everybody would go roller skating in Ravenna, like that. So that was what they did in that part of town. Did that part of the county have dances where they did polkas instead of square dancing? Was it polka parties?
Yes.
Yep. So you see, depending on which part of the county you lived in, what the makeup of the community was the type of things that you would do. Now, as I started going through things, I have card games. Rook. I'm not even sure what Rook is, but I've got a box of Rook cards at my house. Touring, that one I do know. That one I have played. Canasta. We played canasta a lot at our house. My mom loved to play with canasta. And she and my dad would play two-handed canasta. And they'd be playing and all of a sudden you'd hear, "Not again!" That'd be my dad. Well, she would hold everything in her hand and then lay it all down. She had all of her milk, she had all of her things. And then of course, this is a cheapie, they had a good one, but you always had a thing to put your canasta cards in, which ones you discarded, which ones you used. Let's see, Somerset, another one. Flinch. This one, my grandfather and my father would go to the Oddfellows meetings. And my grandma would come to our house, or we would go to grandma's house, because grandma wasn't real well. And we would play flinch with grandma. That's what she wanted to do. Oh, I forgot. If you played a lot of canasta, you probably had the canasta book. And that's how you kept score. We and them, and what your basic melt was, and how much you had at the end. And as you can tell, my mom was into canasta. Okay, other things you might do. Sit down and read. And this happens to be Hans Brinker book. And I opened it up one day and I'm going, well, where does this come from? And it goes, Idell from Gilbert, 1937. My uncle gave this to my mom for Christmas. And so it's the story of Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates. But there's, all kinds of stories. I didn't bring any, Mary Beth didn't have any, but board games. Did you ever play Monopoly? Did you play Chinese checkers? Did you play dominoes? Did you play chess? That was probably not as, that one you had to be a little more proficient in that game.
More skill.
Patience. Okay, that's a good word for it. I like that. And then,
Marbles.
oh yes, marbles, jacks,
Pick up sticks.
pickup sticks.
Yeah.
I have a box of wooden pickup sticks. And then I also have the plastic ones that you got years later. And like that. So, there was always a variety of things that you could do. So now we're gonna open it up to you guys. What are things you remember doing to pass the time? The
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I grew up in the town of Gibbon, and there are no hills in Gibbon. We had no skating pond or anything like that. So the only thing what we would do for sledding hill is that when it would snow, they would sometimes pile the snow in our downtown city park. Or like when my kids were growing up, we lived on a cul-de-sac, there's a little island, there's no cul-de-sac, they'd pile the snow there. And we do the urban thing, I guess you'd say, we used the pile of snow that was piled up when they plowed the snow with our ski hill, or not ski hill, but our sledding hill, cause that was, all we had in Gibbon was that kind of thing. And every once in a while, if the roads were slick, we'd take our bikes out and go pedaling as fast as we could and intentionally lay them over and go sliding down the street. I guess we may do.
I don't know if you've heard of Uncle Wiggly, but we used to.
Oh, yes.
play that
Yeah.
all the time. And I do have my grandfather's button accordion because I am half Bohemian. And where it's stored, I have a big note in front of the stuff so that somebody doesn't think they're gonna toss it.
Yeah, well, that's like, because of what the weather was possibly going to be today, I have what we always thought was, I think it's a ziffer, or zither, and like that. And it's in this box, it's about yay long, it's got the strings on it and the whole bit, and you can, almost like a guitar, except there's lots of strings. And I took it out and it was so dusty because it's always on a shelf in the basement, has been for years. I asked my brother, I says, do you remember anywhere besides being on a shelf? And he goes, nope. It was always on a shelf at grandma's house, mom's house, and now your house. And like that. Well, I took it out to try to dust it a little bit. And here's all these pieces of music. So I start looking. It was actually a ukulele.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never heard of a ukulele, but that's what it was. But, it's in this old box and everything, and I'm going, oh, I'm not gonna try to bring that one today. We'll save that one.
I also went ice skating on the state lake, which is now the Ravenna, Buffalo County, whatever it is. And we went around and we were up for Thanksgiving at my sister's there. And my older sister goes, well, where's the road that goes over the railroad track? I said, that's been gone for years, where have you been? So now you do have to come off a highway too to get in there, but, yeah, I fell in one day. It was getting a little bit too late in the spring, and my Uncle Joe goes, I think we're all done, we're going home. So that was the last day we skated that year.
No.
And we played what we called hockey with just a stick. Not good because we were pretty rough, but oh well, we lived.
Yep. Kevin, you were talking about your mound. Riverdale, probably 30, 35, 40 years ago, there was a vacant lot. And so they put concrete all the way around it, up about yay tall. And the first year they flooded it because they were going to make an ice skating rink for the kids. Well, I think they did it maybe 2 or 3 years, and then they said, well, this isn't really working out, nobody's really using it, so we're not gonna flood it anymore. Well, now it's the tennis court, because they put the nets up and it's the tennis court, or the basketball court, or whatever.
I also skated at the State Lake, and it terrifies me now to think about it. We went with my friend Gail Todd, and did we measure the ice? Did we know it was safe?
No.
And did we know how to ice skate? No. But so I still have nightmares over that. Oh, at the time I didn't, but I do now.
You do now.
Yeah.
And then
You know
roller
better.
skating, did we
Yeah.
roller skate in pool where there was a cement slab?
I didn't, but
Yeah, I did, I remember, so I did roller
I
skate, but
didn't ever have skates.
we didn't go so much into town when I was a kid, maybe when we moved there, but, yeah.
The bear rug, this wasn't something to do, but my great uncle always told the story how they had to take the wagon and the horses to church. They lived north, like on 130th, and then Prairie Center was on 190th. And so, 4 miles probably? And like on a morning like this morning, how cold it was, and that then they would get out of the wagon once in a while and run along beside it to warm up, and then they'd get back in. But just to think, and how fast do horses go? Maybe 5-10 miles an hour. So it would take a good half hour,
Oh, yeah.
to get to church. And I'm just thinking how cold that was.
And then you're
To get
hoping
there.
when you got to church that somebody had started
Yeah,
the stove,
yeah.
whether it was a coal or wood or corn cobs or whatever. Anybody else have a story?
When you talked about the games, it immediately popped in my mind the carom board.
Yes.
Who else grew up with a carom board? So we were 5 children, we had a constant tournament going on, with the carom board. Yeah, that was, I have it with the wooden caroms. I have that board.
I have my dad's, he got for Christmas one year, and then he got a game box that had like 40 games in it, and I think it was backgammon and checkers and chess, and I don't know what the 40 games are, but that's what it says on the box, there's 40 games in there.
Yep. We had a carom board at my house, and it was in my basement when the basement got flooded 3 years ago. And here in town, the water that you got mostly was just from Turkey Creek and all of that. Mine, the water was fine until it went over the leach field, and there was so much weight that it pushed the septic system up through the drain in my basement. So I had 10 inches of sewer water. And so I lost a lot of things, and that was one.
Yes,
It's sort of like some things you could clean, other things there was no way.
Yeah.
Did Karam have a pool stick, or did you flick it with your fingers?
We did it with the fingers because the brothers were too wild with the sticks. we had sticks, but they disappeared. Parents put those away. Yeah.
After so long, your fingers, they would hurt from getting
you
that.
get a bruise on your nail, from flicking that. But no, that was fun.
They were about wood and about yay big around. And
Well, you talk about safety. My dad came from a family of 9 boys and 1 girl. And there was a sledding story where 3 of the boys piled on top of each other to go down the hill. Yeah, you can imagine trying to steer that. But they went into a bridge. Well, the one on top went over the bridge, the one on the bottom went under the bridge, but the one in the middle hit it straight on. And that's when Dad said that brother missed a year of school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so not safe. But you get that many boys. Yeah. Or try to keep track of them. But I remember Dad said if they were arguing or getting in fights, they had to go out and chop wood.
That's fair.
Yeah, yeah. Put them to work to use up some of that energy. And you can imagine with that many boys, yeah. Had to keep them busy or focused, or you're gonna have trouble. Or something broken in your house. I had 3 boys, and there was nothing in our house that wasn't chipped, cracked. Boys are rough, yeah.
any other stories? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. If you haven't seen them, make sure you stop and check out all the trees and the wreaths and the mini trees and all of that good stuff. Tell your friends. I know Lena said that they've been having a good turnout. I know Tuesday when I was here, we had between 30 and 40.
We had 129 on Saturday when we opened up. Yeah. It's been very steady, so it's been a fun event.
Yeah, we used to have these trees out in our older buildings that are not heated. You can imagine how cold that was to try to decorate a tree or trusting people to go out and see those trees. It's wonderful to have our new building, the Family History Center, all heated. You get to see the trees all inside. So we're grateful for our new, I wonder how long we'll call it our new Family History Center. But we love it.
Another thing for you to check out is in this stand behind Mary Beth are Christmas ornaments, and they were ornaments of Lynn Anderson's. And so,
And Lynn was a friend of the Trails in Buffalo County Historical Society. He's passed away, and he willed his house, his car, and the contents of the house to Trails and Rails Museum. The car is sold, the contents have sold, but the house is still for sale. So we are grateful to when people remember us in their wills, so we're grateful. So, and most of that money will go towards advanced salaries for our two year-round employees. So, we're very grateful.
Snowflakes were made by the archivist.
Oh, and those are wonderful, the snowflakes. Yeah, look up.
how did you get them to be dimensional?
They're 8 paper bags stacked on top of each other, and then they cut them into this fun. I've been telling everybody, can you tell? So they cut them into this fun shape, opened it like a fan, and then pinned it. So then we can unpin them, fold them flat, and reuse them again next year.
So 8 white paper bags.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
just glued
gosh.
them together at the bottom, at the middle,
Sure.
and then just cut whatever shapes.
So every snowflake is different, just like our own.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Turned out great. Can you see yours, Connie?
Susan's the one that brought us home.
Oh, Susan Lacey taught them all. Yeah, awesome.
Well, there's a lot of different patterns.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming today. Wish
And
you
you're
all a
welcome
Merry
to-
Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please join us in January. Oh, let's see. She told you January. Here's a sneak peek. February, love letters in the archives. March is bird flyway. April is about butterflies and what kind of plants to plant to attract the butterflies. So that's the first one.
Well, and then also in the works is the leather, what's his name? Lyle Henderson. So he had the saddle shop downtown, and he is an artist. Some of his work was featured at Mona at one time, so don't miss that one. He is quite elderly, I'm thinking he's in his 90s, but, so we hope to get him in here and we can see his work.
When they ask him, he goes, "Of course I would love to do that, but it's gotta be in the summer." He goes, "We have to pick up the grandkids after school, so it's gotta be in the summer. I don't have the grandkids."
But he is an artist, so that'll be a treat.
Well, thank you to the group.
We hope you like our little show and tells that we have once in a while.